Ladies and gentlemen, why do you beg for money when the law says you can order it? You do not beg the waiter for coffee. You order and it comes. So why do you crawl before life when money is yours by divine right? Today I will show you how to stop pleading with fear and start commanding with faith. What will you gain today? You will learn how to stop begging the universe like a pauper and start commanding your supply like a child of God. You will discover the law that turns your word into wealth, and you will receive the very declarations I have used to set countless men and women free. No more waiting, no more guessing, no more fear. You will walk away knowing exactly how to order money, health, and opportunity under grace in perfect ways. Let me be plain. I know your struggle. You have prayed, affirmed, hoped, and yet the money delays. The bills pile up, the fear whispers, and you wonder, am I doing something wrong? Am I not worthy? You are not wrong and you are not unworthy. You have simply been begging when the law demands ordering. This is the mistake of millions. They treat God as a stranger to be convinced, instead of a father who waits to give. I will show you why your begging has failed and how your commanding will succeed. And once you see it, you will never go back. In this message, I will lay before you the law of ordering your supply. First, I will show you why begging blocks your good and how fear is inverted faith. Then, I will reveal the simple spoken word that breaks open the storehouse of heaven. You will hear stories of men and women who shifted from pleading to declaring and saw money rush in, debts vanish, opportunities fall like ripe fruit into their hands. And before we finish, I will give you the exact affirmations to speak each morning. Words that turn your day into a magnet for money just as surely as your order brings your coffee to the table. Stay with me, for I promise, before the end of this teaching you will know how to stop begging forever and how to command your riches by divine right. Do you see the trap most people fall into? They think they are praying, but what they are really doing is begging, and begging is not prayer. Begging is not faith. Begging is fear dressed up as devotion. This might sound hard at first, but stay with me, because when you grasp this, it will break chains you may not even know you've been carrying. Why is begging so dangerous? Because begging tells the universe one thing: I don't have it. It's a confession of lack, and whatever you confess with conviction, your subconscious records and plays back in your life. I have seen it happen again and again. People who cry out, "Oh God, give me money, please, please," are in truth affirming, "I am broke, I am empty, I am powerless." And the subconscious, which has no sense of humor, takes that order and fills it. Exactly. Think about it like this. You walk into a cafe, place your coffee order, and then what? Do you follow the waiter around? Do you tug at his sleeve and whisper, "Please don't forget me"? Of course not. If you did, he'd think something was wrong with you. And yet, that's exactly how so many treat their finances. They pray and then they chase God around with fear, pleading as if the order had been lost. That breaks trust in the process, and it delays the good that was already on its way. I knew a woman who often joked about getting ready for the poor house. She had money at the time, plenty of comfort, but her words planted seeds of lack. She thought it was harmless humor, but the subconscious never laughs. It records, and in a few years her fortune was gone. She was living the very joke she once made. That is the harvest of begging words. So let me make it plain. Begging is inverted faith. Fear is faith turned upside down. It is faith in evil instead of good. Jesus said, "Why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith?" When you beg, you are not believing in abundance. You are believing in absence. And what you believe in, you draw to yourself. Now I ask you, have you been ordering? Or have you been begging? When you say, "I hope I can pay this bill. I don't know how I'll make it," that is begging. When you say, "Money always finds me. My supply comes from God and it never fails," that is ordering. And the difference is life and death. Hold on, because in the next part, I will show you what it feels like to shift from begging to ordering, from the language of fear to the language of faith. And once you make that shift, you will never crawl before life again. Subsection 1.2. Ordering the language of faith. Now, here is where everything begins to turn. And I want you to lean in with me, because what I am about to tell you has the power to change how you look at every prayer, every affirmation, every word you have ever spoken. Begging is the language of fear, but ordering is the language of faith. And when you learn to order, you are no longer at the mercy of appearances. You are no longer the slave of chance. You are no longer hoping and doubting and waiting with trembling hands. But you become the master of your word, and by your word, you bring forth your good. Do you see the difference? When you beg, you are saying, I don't have. But when you order, you are saying, it is mine already, and it comes quickly under grace in perfect ways. That is faith in action, and faith is the only coin heaven accepts. Think of the simple authority you exercise when you walk into a restaurant and give your order. You do not lower your voice and whisper, if it's not too much trouble, could you please bring me a plate of food? You do not clutch the menu and wring your hands as if the cook might run out of supplies before he reaches your dish. You simply say, I will have this. And you lay the menu down. You know the food exists in the kitchen. You know the waiter has heard her word. And you know that very soon your plate will be set before you. That is ordering. That is what it means to speak as one who knows the storehouses of heaven are full, and the cashier of the universe is waiting on your command. Let me tell you the story of a woman who came to me in despair. She was facing a lawsuit of $3,000. She had no idea where the money would come from, and fear had gripped her heart like a vice. I told her, God is your supply. There is always supply for every demand. Speak the word. Act your faith. Together we gave thanks that the money would be received at the right time in the right way. She chose to order instead of beg. She acted as though her account was already full. She carried herself as though the supply was already in hand. And do you know what happened? Her cousin, whom she had not seen in a long time, appeared at her door, and before the week was out, placed into her hand exactly the 3,000 she required. That is the law in action. That is the fruit of ordering with faith instead of begging with fear. So why is ordering so powerful? Because ordering speaks directly to the subconscious mind with authority, and the subconscious being simply power. Without direction it is given. Ask and it shall be given you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. Do you see? Asking is not begging. Asking is ordering with the certainty that the door is already unlocked and the gift already prepared. That is why I say your word is your wand. Your spoken decree is the rod that parts the Red Sea of obstacles. And when you wield it with calm certainty, your path opens wide before you. But here is where most falter, and I must warn you. They speak the order, but they do not release it. They keep checking, doubting, repeating, worrying as if the kitchen of the universe had forgotten their command. You cannot do that. You must give the order once with power, and then act and feel as if it were already done. The moment you begin to chase the waiter, you slip back into fear and your order is delayed. The secret is to hold your poise, to rejoice as if it were already yours, to move as if the supply had already been credited to your account. This is faith in action, and this is how the law delivers. Now ask yourself, what orders have you been sending out? Are your words trembling and uncertain, full of hope, but empty of conviction? Or are your words calm, bold, and sure, like the voice of one who knows the storehouses of heaven are overflowing? If you have been sending out mixed signals, today is the day to clear the confusion. Speak with authority, not apology. Order with faith, not fear, and know this, the moment you do, the supply rushes toward you, for the law cannot fail. Hold steady, for in the next part, I will reveal the hidden reason most people fail at this practice. They think they are ordering, but they are still secretly begging. They mix their decrees with idle words. They cancel their faith with jokes of lack. They plant weeds among their wheat. And unless you see this clearly, you too may wonder why your supply delays. But when I show it to you, you will understand how to keep your orders pure and your harvest full. Now I must open your eyes to something that slips by almost everyone, even those who believe they are already practicing the law of faith. Because this is the subtle trap that keeps good people in cycles of waiting, wanting, and worrying. Most do not fail because they never speak the word. Most fail because they speak it one moment and cancel it the next. They mix ordering with begging. They plant seeds of prosperity in one breath and seeds of poverty in the next. And then they wonder why their garden of life yields thorns and weeds instead of flowers and fruit. Let me speak plainly. The subconscious mind is like a photograph record that takes down every vibration, every tone, every word you speak, and it does not argue. It does not edit. It does not say, "Surely she was joking." No, it records everything with dreadful accuracy, and sooner or later it plays back in your outer world. That is why idle words are so dangerous. You may think you are safe when you laugh and say, "I'm broke as always," or when you sigh, "Nothing ever works out for me." But the law is no respecter of persons. The subconscious hears and obeys. I have known people who joked themselves into misery. One woman I knew was wealthy, surrounded by all the comforts of life, but she could not resist saying over and over again, half laughing, half serious, "I'm getting ready for the poorhouse." She thought she was being clever. She thought it was harmless banter. But words are seeds, and seeds must bear fruit. In a few short years, her fortune was gone, her comfort vanished, and she stood at the very edge of destitution. She had walked into the poor house she built with her own tongue. Another woman, tired of the endless duties of managing her home, used to sigh and say again and again, "I wish I lived in a trunk." She spoke it so often that the picture took root in her subconscious. And what was the harvest? Years later, stripped of all comfort, she found herself living out of a trunk. The very image her words had carved into her fate. Do you see now why I tell you that words are never idle? Every word spoken is an order sent to the subconscious kitchen of life, and sooner or later it will be served. This is the reason why so many think the law does not work for them. They say the affirmations, they try the decrees, they even hold moments of faith, but then they let slip a careless phrase, a fearful doubt, a bitter complaint. And in that moment, they have uprooted the seed they planted. They have written a new order that contradicts the old one. And the subconscious, being faithful, but not discerning, delivers exactly what it was last told. That is why Jesus said, "By your words you are justified, and by your words you are condemned." Your words either crown you or crucify you. There is no middle ground. So I ask you, how many times have you prayed for money, and then turned around and said to a friend, "I never have enough"? How many times have you affirmed health in the morning, only to complain of sickness by night? How many times have you declared love and joy, but then given voice to resentment, jealousy, or fear? If you see yourself in this mirror, do not despair. The recognition is your salvation. For the moment you see it, you can change it. You can choose to smash the old records, to stop planting weeds, and to keep your order pure and clean. And this brings us to the law of non-resistance, which is another point most overlook. They not only mix begging with ordering, but they fight appearances with fear. They struggle against circumstances as if the battle were outside of them. The moment you resist, you give power to the very thing you dread. The law is clear. What you fight, you magnetize. What you bless, you neutralize. What you release, you rise above. So instead of resisting appearances, you hold to your word. You refuse to be moved by outer conditions, and you keep your order steady until it manifests. Now, I know some of you may be asking, but what if I've already spoken words of lack? What if I've already planted weeds in my garden? Hear me well. The law works both ways. Just as a careless word can condemn, a deliberate word can redeem. You can cancel the false record by speaking a higher truth. You can say, "Every false word I have spoken returns now to the dust of nothingness, and I establish only the record of health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression." You can overwrite the old phonograph with the melody of abundance. But you must be consistent. You must be deliberate, and you must refuse to joke, complain, or argue for your limitations again. Hold fast, for in the next section, I will take you deeper into the creative power of the spoken word itself. You will see why your tongue is the steering wheel of your destiny, and how every phrase you utter sets in motion unseen forces that shape your body, your affairs, and your future. And when you see it clearly, you will never again waste a word. For you will know that every syllable is a seed, and every seed will bear fruit. This is the turning point, and I want you to feel the weight of it. Because until you truly grasp the power of your own tongue, you will keep stumbling between begging and ordering. You will keep half planting gardens and half pulling them up. And you will wonder why your harvest never matches your hope. Let me tell you plainly, your word is not a small thing. It is not a mere sound lost in the air. It is not idle chatter that fades into silence. No, your word is vibration. It is energy. It is the very spark that sets creation in motion. The Bible says death and life are in the power of the tongue. And I declare to you that every condition in your life, whether of wealth or poverty, health or sickness, joy or sorrow, has its root in the words you have spoken with belief behind them. You may think you are bound by circumstances, by employers, by governments, by the opinions of others, but what truly binds or frees you is your own tongue. Imagine a phonograph record being cut by a singer's voice. Every note, every tremor, even every cough is etched into the wax. Later, when the record plays, every detail returns faithful to the smallest sound. Your subconscious mind is that record. It does not argue. It does not interpret. It does not say, surely he did not mean it. It takes every word as law, and it plays it back into your body and affairs with astonishing accuracy. That is why people who continually declare, I am tired, I am sick, I am broke, find themselves exactly that. No matter how hard they work, no matter how desperately they hope for something else, the subconscious has received its command, and like a loyal but blind servant, it carries it out. I have known men and women who sealed their own fate with a single phrase spoken too often. One woman said over and over, I wish I lived in a trunk, until life dutifully carried her to that very condition, stripped of her home, reduced to the cramped misery of the very image she had impressed upon her subconscious. Another woman, wealthy, by every appearance, repeated injustice. I'll be in the poorhouse one day, and the poorhouse became her reality, because words spoken with feeling, even injustice, are not erased. They are sown, and seeds must bear fruit. Do you see now why I say your word is your wand? Every phrase is a command. Every utterance a decree, whether you know it or not. And here is the good news. If words have the power to condemn you, then words have the power to justify you. If you have spoken yourself into poverty, you can speak yourself into riches. If you have spoken yourself into sickness, you can speak yourself into health. If you have spoken yourself into loneliness, you can speak yourself into love. The law does not change. It responds with equal obedience to every order. So, how do you begin to wield this creative power? First, by becoming conscious of every word you speak. You must treat words as sacred because they are. You must stop throwing them about carelessly. Stop joking about poverty. Stop complaining about lack. Stop declaring failure as if it were your identity. Second, you must deliberately plant the words you desire to see made flesh. When you rise in the morning, declare, I am linked with an endless golden stream of prosperity. When you walk into your work, say, I have a magical work in a magical way. I give magical service for magical pay. When you feel fear press against your chest, answer it with the word, I am fearless. I am supplied. I am safe in God's abundance. Speak them aloud with conviction as though you were stamping them onto the record of your subconscious. Because that is exactly what you are doing. And let me add this, do not be deceived by appearances. Do not say, but I have spoken the word, and nothing has happened yet. The seed always takes time to germinate underground before it breaks through the soil. The law is exact. What you have sown in faith will rise in due season. If you do not uproot it with doubt, Jesus said, by your words you are justified. That is not poetic metaphor. It is literal law. The moment you truly believe it, you will guard your tongue as your most precious treasure. For you will know that each word is a builder, each sentence a blueprint, and your life is the structure it raises. Now I ask you to consider this. If your words are building your future at this very moment, what kind of house are you constructing? Is it a palace of abundance where riches flow like a river and every room overflows with joy? Or is it a prison of lack with walls built out of complaints, fears, and careless phrases? If you do not like the house you see around you, begin today to speak a new one into being. For the same law that created the old house will create the new, and it will not fail. And this brings us to a deeper level. For in the next part, I will give you the exact affirmations that carry the vibration of wealth. The words that command riches to appear, the decrees that act as lightning rods to draw money from the unseen into the seen. These are not weak phrases or timid hopes. They are words charged with faith proven by demonstration, words that have opened doors and multiplied supply for those who dared to speak them with power. Stay with me, because once you hear them and begin to use them, you will never again doubt that your word is your wand and your spoken decree the key to your fortune. Now that you see how every word you speak is a seed that must return to you in harvest, I want to put into your hands the very words that carry the vibration of wealth. Words that act as golden keys to open the storehouses of heaven. Words that summon supply from the unseen into the seen. I tell you, these affirmations are not empty poetry or pretty phrases meant to soothe the ear. They are commands written in the language the subconscious understands. They are decrees that strike the hidden law like a hammer upon a bell, setting in motion vibrations that travel outward until they draw to you people opportunities and channels through which your good rushes in. When you speak them, speak not as a beggar reciting a wish, but as a king issuing a command, as one who knows that his word cannot return void, but must accomplish that whereunto it is sent. Let me give you an example of such a decree. I am linked with an endless golden stream of prosperity, which comes to me under grace in perfect ways. Do you hear the strength in that? Not I hope for money, not I wish I had more, but I am linked present tense eternal fact, joined to a golden stream that cannot run dry. And when you speak those words aloud with faith and expectancy, you set the subconscious to work. You align yourself with the superconscious pattern of your divine supply, and you step into the vibration of abundance itself. Another affirmation that has opened doors for countless souls is this: I have a magical work in a magical way. I give magical service for magical pay. When you repeat this, you are declaring that your work is not drudgery. Your service is not toil. Your pay is not limited by man. You are announcing that everything you put your hand to is touched with divine magic, that your service is valuable, joyful, and rewarded beyond expectation. I remember a woman who came to me with only $2 to her name. Most would have clutched those $2,000 in fear, but I told her, bless them. See them as the seed of endless supply. Speak the word that your purse is never empty. That as money goes out, it returns multiplied. Together, we affirmed, my purse is a magic purse of the spirit. It can never be depleted. As money goes out, money rushes back in under grace in perfect ways. She felt the power of that decree so strongly that she even gave me one of her dollars as a love offering. And I accepted it, for I dared not see lack for her when she had chosen to see abundance. Soon after, she was given a gift of $6,000. That is the fruit of fearless faith expressed in affirmation. Do not underestimate the imagery of these words. When you say, I see my purse crammed, jammed with bills and checks, bulging with abundance, the subconscious cannot help but picture it. And once the picture is impressed, it begins to outpicture. It is not about straining to visualize. It is about letting the words themselves carry the image into your mind. Words like crammed and jammed are rich with substance, and they impress the subconscious quickly and deeply. That is why I tell you to choose affirmations that paint the picture boldly, because the imagination is the scissors of the mind, ever cutting the patterns your life must follow. Now I know some will object and say, but I have tried affirmations before, and nothing happened. And to that I say you may have repeated the words, but did you speak them as law? Did you declare them with conviction, or did you mutter them with doubt? Cancel them with complaints, uproot them with fear. Remember, the subconscious records not only your words but the feeling behind them. If you speak I am prosperous, while trembling inside with fear of lack, the vibration is mixed. The order is confused. The record is scratched. But when you speak with poise, with authority, with joy, the subconscious receives a clear order and must carry it out. So here is what I would have you do. Choose 2 or 3 affirmations that strike your heart with power, that stir your imagination, that awaken joy within you. Speak them aloud, every morning as you rise, every night as you lie down, and in every moment when fear whispers at your door. Do not wait until you feel like it. Speak them until you feel them. Stamp them on your subconscious until they are more real to you than the bills on your table or the empty purse in your hand. And as you persist, the vibration will shift, doors will open, channels will clear, and money will appear in ways you could never have planned. For God's methods are ingenious, and His supply is endless. And let me leave you with this before we move forward. Affirmations are not spells. They are not tricks. They are not bargains with a reluctant universe. They are the language of faith, the speech of those who know their divine inheritance, the words of kings and queens who understand that God's will is abundance, not lack, supply, not shortage, joy, not misery. When you affirm, you align yourself with that truth, and the law cannot fail to bring it forth. Now stay with me, because in the next part, I will show you that it is not enough to speak the words. You must also act as if they are already true. You must live as though the decree were fulfilled the moment you gave it. I will tell you the stories of men and women who dared to act rich when they were poor, who bought blankets for apartments they did not yet have, who set their tables for meals not yet cooked, and who found that their faith opened doors no amount of fear or effort ever could. That is the law of action that seals the spoken word. And without it, affirmations are left hanging in the air. With it, they take flesh and walk into your life. Now let me take you deeper, because it is one thing to speak a decree and another thing to live as though that decree is already fulfilled. And this is where most people stumble. This is the thin line between affirmation as mere words and affirmation as creative law. You see, the subconscious mind does not only listen to the promise, the words you speak. It listens to the way you walk, the way you act, the way you hold yourself, when appearances scream the opposite of what you are declaring. If your words say, "I am prosperous," but your actions say, "I am afraid, I must shrink, I must hoard, I must prepare for lack," then the subconscious is receiving two contradictory commands, and the one backed with the most conviction will always prevail. That is why I tell you that faith must be acted out in the small details of life. Because when you act as if you already have what you have ordered, you are sending a clear, unwavering message to the subconscious that abundance is the only reality, and that message cannot fail to bear fruit. I recall the case of a woman who faced a lawsuit of $3,000. She had no idea where the money could come from, and fear pressed on her like a storm cloud. I told her, act as though you already have it. Order a fine lunch. Carry yourself with poise. Spend the day in joy instead of worry, because every act of faith is a signal to the universe that you expect your supply. She did as I instructed, and within days a relative appeared unannounced with the exact amount she required. Now I ask you, was it the lunch that brought the money? Was it the outward gesture itself? No, it was the faith behind the act, the unshaken conviction that she was not a beggar in a universe of shortage, but a child of God in a universe of endless supply. That one act of faith lined up her subconscious with her decree, and the law fulfilled it swiftly. This principle is seen throughout the scriptures. The prophet Elisha told the kings who thirsted in the desert, "Make this valley full of ditches." There was no rain in sight, no cloud in the sky, no natural reason to dig trenches. Yet they obeyed. They acted their faith. And the next morning the valley was overflowing with water. Their ditches were filled because they had dared to prepare for a supply unseen. And so it is with you. You must dig your ditches in advance. Buy the blanket when you have no apartment. Set the table when you have no meal. Speak as though the bill is already paid. And then walk through your day with the calm certainty of one who knows the check is already written and on its way. I knew a student who desperately needed a new home. Apartments were scarce, and everyone told her it was impossible. She almost gave in to doubt, but instead she decided to dig her ditches by buying new blankets as though the apartment were already hers. Friends mocked her and said, "Why waste money on blankets you may never use?" But she smiled and said, "I am preparing for my good." And do you know what happened? Not long after, she was given an apartment in a miraculous way, and the blankets she had purchased were spread upon her bed. That is the law in operation. But let me be clear, acting in faith is not reckless spending. It is not forcing your will. It is not throwing yourself into foolish risk. It is obedience to the quiet voice of intuition that tells you the next step. It is the small act that seems unreasonable to the reasoning mind, but rings with certainty in your spirit. It is stepping onto the water when Christ says, "Come." The reasoning mind says, "Stay in the boat, you will sink." But faith says, "I walk by divine law, and I cannot fail." And as you act in that spirit, the invisible is made visible. The unseen supply becomes seen, and what was only a decree in words becomes a reality in your affairs. Now I ask you to consider where in your life have you been speaking faith, but acting fear? Where have you been declaring abundance, while moving as if lack still ruled you? It may be as small as refusing to give when prompted, as simple as turning down an opportunity because it seemed uncertain, as subtle as clinging to an old possession because you feared you could not replace it. Each of those actions contradicts the decree of prosperity, and each tells the subconscious, "I do not really believe." If you want to turn the tide, begin today to act your faith in small, practical ways. Speak the word, then move as though it is already so. Buy the blanket, set the table, order the luncheon, dig the ditch. Do the thing that proves to your own subconscious that you trust the law, and the law will not fail you. And as we move forward, I will reveal another mystery that explains why even when we speak and act in faith, sometimes the thing we thought we wanted does not appear, and yet something better arrives in its place. This is the law of substitution, the safeguard of divine law, which ensures that even if you ask amiss, even if you order what is not truly yours, the universe will bring you the right thing, the divine equivalent, the good that belongs to you and you alone. And when you understand this law, you will never again fear making a mistake with your words, for you will know that every true order is protected and fulfilled under grace. Now I must show you one of the most merciful workings of divine law, a safeguard that prevents you from trapping yourself in the wrong place with the wrong people or in the wrong form of supply. For even when your words are powerful and your faith is sincere, sometimes the thing you think you want is not truly yours. It is not your divine portion. It does not belong to you by right of consciousness. And if it were given to you, it would turn to ashes in your hands. This is where the law of substitution operates. It is the invisible hand of infinite intelligence that takes your mistaken order and transforms it into the right order, the one that matches your divine design. I tell you this law is your shield, for it ensures that even if your desire is narrow, short-sighted, or born of personal will, you will not be left with disappointment, but will receive the divine equivalent, which is always better than what you imagined. I recall the case of a woman who came to me with an urgent request. She was deeply in love with a man, and she begged me to speak the word that she might marry him. She believed he was the one. She thought her happiness depended on his affection, and she feared losing him above all else. I told her I could not speak such a word, for it would be a violation of spiritual law to fix her good to a specific person. Instead, I said, I will speak the word for the right man, the man who belongs to you by divine right. If this man is the right one, you cannot lose him. If he is not, you will receive his equivalent. She agreed, though reluctantly. Not long after, she found her feelings for the first man beginning to cool. His charm faded, and what had seemed irresistible now appeared less than satisfying. Soon she met another man who declared from the beginning that she was his ideal, and he spoke to her the very words she had always wished to hear. She married him and she was happy, and she said to me later that it was uncanny how perfectly he fit her vision. That is the law of substitution in action. You see, when you order from the universe, you do not always know what is best for you. You may think you need a particular job, a particular home, a particular person. But the higher law sees beyond your limited sight. It knows the end from the beginning. It knows the divine pattern of your life, and it will not let you settle for less than your true good. So if you order amiss, the law simply substitutes the right equivalent. This is why I tell you to speak in terms of divine right and under grace. Say, I desire the home that belongs to me by divine right. Say, I call forth the work that is mine under grace in perfect ways. Say, I am united with the partner who belongs to me in the divine design. And then trust the law to substitute if your limited desire is not in harmony with your true destiny. This law is not only a safeguard but a liberator, because it frees you from the paralysis of fear, the worry that you may make a mistake, the dread of choosing wrongly. Do you not see how much anxiety people waste in fearing that they will miss their chance? That they will ask for the wrong thing, that they will settle for less than they deserve. The law of substitution removes all such fear. You cannot lose what is yours by divine right, and you cannot hold what does not belong to you. If you reach for the wrong thing, it will slip from your hands and the right thing will come in its place. If you beg for a stone, the law will give you bread. If you cling to what is false, it will fall away and the true will arrive. That is why it is written, Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. The kingdom is the realm of right ideas, the divine pattern. And when you align your words with that pattern, nothing can be lost and nothing can be withheld. Now, let me ask you to consider your own life. Where have you been stubbornly clinging to something or someone that may not be yours by divine right? Where have you mistaken obsession for destiny or fear of loss for true love or desperation for guidance? Perhaps you have prayed for a specific job only to see the door close again and again. Perhaps you have chased after a person who refuses to commit believing they are the one. Perhaps you have begged for money from a channel that never seems to open and you have wondered, why does the law not work for me? My friend, the law has been working all along. It has been shutting the wrong doors so that the right ones may open. It has been removing the false so that the true may appear. It has been substituting the counterfeit with the genuine. And here lies the great piece of this law. You do not have to know every detail of your good. You do not have to strain to picture every circumstance. You do not have to micromanage the universe. You need only speak the word in faith, declare that you receive what is yours by divine right, and then release it with confidence. The law will sift and sort. It will substitute and supply. And it will bring you not only what you desire, but what you would have desired if you had seen the whole picture. That is why the Bible says God is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we ask or think. Your task is not to beg, not to cling, not to demand in fear, but to order with faith, and to rest in the assurance that the right equivalent cannot fail to appear. So remember this, every time you speak the word, add the phrase under grace in perfect ways, and by divine right. These are the anchors that keep your order in line with the law of substitution. They guarantee that even if you ask for less, you will receive more. And even if you reach for the wrong thing, the right thing will be placed in your hands. And when you see this principle at work in your own affairs, when you watch something you thought you wanted fade away, only to be replaced by something far better, you will marvel at the wisdom of infinite intelligence, and you will trust the law with all your heart. Now stay with me, for in the next main section, I will show you how to train the imagination, which is the scissors of the mind, to cut only patterns of good so that your orders are always aligned with abundance, always faithful to your divine design, and never again poisoned by fear or distorted by wrong pictures. When you learn to discipline your imagination, you will wield it as the craftsman wields a tool, cutting out only garments of wealth, health, love, and success, and discarding forever the rags of fear and lack. Now we enter into a realm that is both subtle and powerful, the realm of the imagination. And I must speak slowly here so you truly feel the depth of what I am about to say. For imagination is not the harmless daydreaming faculty that most suppose. It is the very scissors of the mind cutting out the patterns that your life must inevitably follow. And unless you learn to direct it, unless you learn to discipline it, it will cut shapes of lack and fear as easily as it will cut shapes of wealth and joy. Many people suffer not because they lack faith in words, but because they let their imagination run wild with pictures of disaster, of sickness, of bills unpaid, of doors closed, of opportunities missed. and then they wonder why those very conditions show up in their world. The answer is simple. Their imagination has been busy cutting the patterns, and the law has been faithfully producing the garments, according to the design. I have seen men literally worry themselves into disease, picturing their bodies breaking down, until the subconscious obeyed, and the body followed suit. I have known women who imagined betrayal so often that their partners eventually played the part exactly as cast. I once knew a man who lived in terror of a rare disease. He read about it, he spoke of it, and above all, he pictured it. He told himself again and again that he must guard against it, and with every mental rehearsal, he deepened the pattern. And in time, his very body manifested the disease he feared most, proving again that the imagination, once directed by fear, will cut the pattern and the subconscious will stitch it into form. This is why I say you must be vigilant, because every mental picture is a prophecy and every daydream is a seed that seeks fulfillment. But here is the glorious truth. The same imagination that cuts patterns of sickness and lack can, when trained, cut patterns of health, of wealth, of joy, of every good thing you desire. And the law will just as faithfully bring these into form. For it does not discriminate between pictures born of fear and pictures born of faith. It only knows to reproduce the blueprint it is given. So the question becomes, what blueprints are you handing to your subconscious each day? Are you cutting ragged garments of worry, garments of poverty, garments of despair, or are you cutting robes of splendor woven with gold threads of abundance? Garments that clothe you in health, success, and joy. Let me give you a picture. Imagine a tailor with scissors in hand cutting fabric for a suit. If the pattern is wrong, the suit will not fit. No matter how fine the cloth, no matter how skilled the tailor, the imagination is that pair of scissors. The subconscious is the tailor. The conditions of your life are the garments, and the fabric is infinite. There is no limit to the supply of material. If you hand over a pattern of fear, the tailor will cut and sew according to that shape, and you will wear it whether you like it or not. But if you hand over a pattern of faith, of wealth, of joy, then the tailor will craft garments that fit perfectly, garments that drape you in prosperity and health. That is why it is so vital to take control of your imagination, to consciously cut only the patterns you wish to wear. So I ask you now, what have you been picturing in your quiet moments? Do you imagine yourself struggling, or do you imagine yourself supplied? Do you picture your bills piling up, or do you see them stamped paid in full? Do you replay scenes of rejection, or do you envision warm welcomes and open doors? The pictures you entertain most often are the seeds you plant. And whether you realize it or not, you are planting all the time. Your life today is the harvest of the pictures you have been cutting with the scissors of your mind. And here is your way forward. You must deliberately begin to picture good, even if appearances scream the opposite. Hold to the higher image. See yourself walking in plenty even when your purse is light. See yourself radiant with health, even when your body feels weak. See yourself loved and cherished even if you sit alone. For as surely as the tailor obeys the pattern, the subconscious will obey the picture, and what you persist in imagining will eventually break through into pate nudum form. Do not fear that you have already cut too many wrong patterns, that you are doomed to wear the garments of yesterday's imagination forever. For just as a new pattern can replace an old one, so can a new vision replace the false. Speak aloud. Every false picture in my imagination dissolves now. I cut only the patterns of health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. Declare it, and then begin to practice it day by day, moment by moment, until your imagination is no longer your enemy, but your ally, cutting only the garments of glory you were meant to wear. And as you train this faculty, you will discover a strange and wonderful thing. You will no longer be the victim of fear pictures that float into your mind uninvited. You will no longer feel helpless before the images of lack that try to haunt you. Instead, you will become the master craftsman of your own destiny, cutting with precision, shaping with intention, and handing to the subconscious only those designs that match the divine pattern of your life. And when that happens, your imagination becomes the bridge between the unseen and the seen. The silent workshop where every dream is first stitched before it appears on the stage of your affairs. Now hold steady, because in the next part, I will show you how to strengthen these pictures with vision and gratitude. How to make them so vivid and magnetic that they draw to you every resource, every opportunity, every channel you need. You will see how to cultivate the vision of plenty until it becomes the atmosphere of your life, and how to guard it from the corrosive power of doubt. When you learn this, your imagination will cease to be a battlefield and will become a garden overflowing with blossoms of abundance. Now that you see how imagination is the scissors of the mind, forever cutting out the patterns life must follow, I want to show you how to train that imagination until it serves you as a faithful servant rather than as a tyrant. 4. Imagination cannot be left to drift. It must be harnessed. It must be directed. It must be steeped in visions of plenty until those visions become stronger than any appearance of lack. Most people allow their imagination to be ruled by fear, by the headlines of the day, by the opinions of neighbors, by the whispers of the reasoning mind, and then they wonder why their lives mirror poverty, limitation, and frustration. But you are called to something higher. You are called to cultivate the vision of plenty, to picture abundance with such clarity and joy that it becomes the very atmosphere in which you live and breathe. What does this vision of plenty look like? It is seeing your ships come in over a calm sea, as I have so often declared. My ships come in over a calm sea under grace in perfect ways. That one phrase carries within it a picture of abundance, arriving smoothly, peacefully, without struggle, without storm. When you repeat it, you begin to see those ships in your mind's eye, laden with treasures approaching steadily toward the shore of your life. And the subconscious, faithful to the picture, sets in motion currents and winds you cannot see until those ships arrive in your harbor. Contrast that with the imagination of lack, which sees only storm clouds, sinking vessels, waves crashing against a fragile boat. Which vision do you want to empower? The answer is clear. For the vision you choose becomes the reality you inhabit. Let me give you a story. Years ago, I declared that I would receive a certain rose tree perfect in bloom. Though at the time I had no reason to expect it, I held that picture steadily in my imagination, seeing the tree before me, its blossoms unfolding, its fragrance filling the air. Others laughed and said it was impossible. Yet within a short time, without any effort on my part, a friend brought me the very rose tree I had envisioned, so exact to my picture that it took my breath away. That is the vision of plenty at work. What you hold clearly, what you see steadily, what you refuse to let go of must come to pass. For imagination is the mold and the universe is the substance. And do not forget the role of gratitude in strengthening this vision. Gratitude is the magnet that draws the unseen into the seen. When you thank God for your good before it appears, you anchor the picture in faith, and faith makes it real. It is like watering the seeds you have planted. Without gratitude, the seeds dry out, wither and fail to sprout. But when you rise in the morning and say, I thank thee that my supply is already here, that my harvest is abundant, that my life is overflowing with every good thing, you saturate the soil of your subconscious with living water, and the vision begins to sprout. Gratitude multiplies. The loaves and fishes fed thousands only after Christ gave thanks. Your small store will multiply when you bless it, when you give thanks for it, when you see it as seed for greater harvest. Now, some may ask, but what if doubt creeps in? What if I cannot hold the vision without fear breaking it apart? And I answer you, doubt may knock at the door, but you do not have to let it in. You may feel the wind of fear brush against you, but you need not invite it to sit at your table. When doubt whispers, answer with affirmation. This vision is mine by divine right, and nothing can keep it from me. When fear presses, answer with gratitude. I thank thee that it is already done. In this way, you train your imagination as one would train a wild horse, guiding it again and again onto the right path until it no longer strays. Let me ask you, what vision have you been holding lately? Is it a vision of endless bills, of opportunities slipping away, of doors slamming shut? Or is it a vision of envelopes stamped paid in full, of doors swinging wide, of opportunities arriving with perfect timing? Whatever picture dominates your imagination will dominate your life, and you have the power this very moment to choose the vision of plenty. It may feel awkward at first, like wearing a new garment, but soon it will fit you. Soon it will feel natural. Soon it will become your second skin. And when it does, your world will rearrange itself to match it, for outer conditions are nothing but the mirror of inner pictures. So from this day forward, refuse to let fear hold the scissors. Refuse to picture lack. Refuse to cut rags when you were meant to cut robes. Instead, see your ships arriving. See your roses blooming. See your purse crammed and jammed with bills. See your storehouses full. And see it all under grace in perfect ways. And remember, the universe is limitless. The supply is endless. The only boundaries are the ones you cut with your imagination. Hold steady, for in the next part I will show you how to destroy the old false pictures that may still linger in your subconscious. How to smash the untrue records that keep replaying scenes of failure, and how to replace them with new records of health, wealth, and love. Once you learn to break those old patterns, nothing of the past can hold you, and your imagination will be free to cut only patterns of glory. Now I must take you into a work that is both sobering and liberating. For many of you have been faithful in speaking new words, faithful in picturing new visions, faithful in declaring abundance. And yet you wonder why the past still clings, why old conditions linger, why certain chains have not yet fallen away. The answer is this. Your subconscious is still playing old records, grooves that were cut years ago by careless words, by fearful thoughts, by pictures of lack and failure that you may not even remember consciously. Yet they are there spinning endlessly, repeating the same dreary tune, until your life dances to its rhythm. You may declare wealth with your conscious mind, but if the record playing beneath is "I never have enough," the tune will drown out your scree. You may affirm love, but if the old groove is "I am unworthy, I am rejected, I am alone," then your affirmation is muffled, struggling against the background music of failure. That is why I say you must not only plant new seeds, you must also uproot the weeds. You must smash the old records, break them utterly, and replace them with new melodies of truth. Consider this. In the days of photographs, if a record was scratched, it would skip and repeat the same phrase over and over, no matter what the song was meant to be. The subconscious is like that. It plays back whatever is cut into it, and if the groove is one of fear or resentment, it will loop endlessly until the condition shows up again and again in your life. That is why some people find themselves repeating the same patterns, meeting the same kind of disappointing partners, falling into the same financial holes, suffering the same illnesses in different forms. They are caught in the groove of an old record. And until that record is shattered, they cannot move forward. But take courage, because there is a way to break those records. Speak aloud with authority. I smash and demolish every untrue record in my subconscious mind. They return to the dust of nothingness, for they came from nothing and they go back to nothing. I establish only the records of health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. Say it with force. Say it as though you held a hammer in your hand and were breaking vinyl into pieces. Say it until you feel the release. The subconscious will obey. It may take repetition. It may take persistence. But every time you declare it, you weaken the hold of the old record, and eventually it shatters. And once you smash the old record, you must immediately replace it with a new one. Nature abhors a vacuum. If you leave the space empty, the old tune may creep back in. So after declaring the destruction of false records, speak the truth you want established. I record only success. I record only supply. I record only joy. I record only divine love. Picture the needle of your subconscious moving smoothly across a brand new disc, playing a symphony of abundance, and let that melody fill your days. I once counseled a man who had struggled with poverty for decades. He had spoken affirmations faithfully, yet he always found himself back at the same low place. When I pressed him, he admitted that as a child, he had often heard his father say, "We are cursed in money. No matter what we do, we always lose." That phrase had cut deep grooves in his subconscious, grooves that played louder than his affirmations. I told him to declare daily, I smash and demolish the record of financial loss. I established the record of unending prosperity, for I am linked with the golden stream of supply. He obeyed, and within months his life shifted. Opportunities appeared, debts were paid, and for the first time, he felt free. The old record was broken, and a new one began to play. So I ask you, what old records are still spinning in your life? Perhaps it is the record of I always get sick in winter. Perhaps it is love never lasts for me. Perhaps it is money slips through my fingers. Do not despair. These are not eternal truths. They are false grooves cut by fear and suggestion. And you have the authority to smash them. Take up the hammer of the spoken word. Declare their destruction. Replace them with the songs of truth, and soon you will find yourself dancing to a new tune, one of health, of wealth, of love, of success. For the subconscious knows no difference between an old record and a new one. It simply plays what it is given. Give it only the music of heaven, and let this be your joy. You are not condemned to repeat the past. You are not bound by what your parents said, what your teachers declared, what your own fears once whispered. Every old record can be smashed. Every false groove can be erased. Every tune of lack can be silenced. And in its place, you can record the music of abundance, the symphony of divine supply, the melody of eternal joy. And when you do, your life will change. For the music within always becomes the conditions without. Now stay with me. For in the next main section, I will show you not only the principles, but the living demonstrations of this law, real stories of men and women who shifted from begging to ordering, from fear to faith, from old records of lack to new records of abundance. Their cases will prove to you that this law is not theory but fact. And once you see their victories, you will be ready to claim your own. Now, let me lead you into the living proof of these laws, for principles alone can feel lofty and far away until you see them clothed in the lives of men and women who dared to act on them, who took the invisible truth and proved it in the visible. And I want to begin with one of my favorite cases because it shows so clearly that you do not need to have great wealth to start. You do not need to have every door open before you. You do not need to see the how or the when. You only need faith, a spoken word, and the courage to follow a hunch. A woman came to me once with only 8 to her name. Her rent was due, her needs were many, and she felt trapped between despair and fear. Most in her position would have clutched those 8 as if they were life itself, holding on tightly and shrinking back into begging thoughts. But this woman was willing to listen. I told her that God is her supply, that the law does not ask how much you have in your purse, but how much faith you have in your heart. And I urged her to speak the word and act as if her abundance were already present. She obeyed. She declared, God is my supply. I cannot be left without. I walk in abundance under grace in perfect ways. And though she trembled, she chose to trust her inner voice. That very afternoon she felt a sudden urge, a hunch so strong she could not ignore it to return home by a different path. She followed that prompting without hesitation. And what do you think happened? Along that path she encountered a friend who out of the blue pressed into her hand a sum of money large enough to cover her rent and far more. What had begun with only 8 and a word of faith turned into a demonstration of plenty. This is the law in action. A decree spoken, a hunch followed, and the supply arriving in perfect time. Do you see the lesson? The amount of money in her hand did not matter. The appearances of lack did not matter. What mattered was her word, and her obedience to the inner guidance that came after. Begging would have left her trembling, clutching, shrinking into fear. Ordering lifted her into expectancy, opened her ears to intuition, and led her straight to her good. And I tell you, every one of you has that same power. You may think you are down to your last dollar, but if you speak the word and follow the hunch, you may discover that the whole universe is waiting just around the corner, ready to deliver your supply. Let me press this point further, because too many believe they cannot act until they have more in hand, until conditions look safer, until appearances soften. But the law is not moved by appearances. The law is moved by faith. It is always supply for every demand, but the demand must be made in courage. That woman with 8 proved what I am teaching you. You need not wait to have plenty before you act like you have plenty. You need only dare to step out to say, God is my unfailing supply, and then move on the inner direction that comes. That is ordering without fear, and that is why she received her demonstration. And so I ask you, what is your 8? What little you are tempted to clutch in fear? What small seed you hesitate to release? Because appearances shout that it is not enough. Whatever it is, dare to speak the word over it. Dare to give thanks for it. Dare to declare it is only the beginning of a harvest beyond counting. And then stay alert, because a hunch will come, a nudge from within, a voice whispering, go this way, do this thing, follow it without hesitation. And you will see doors open, supply appear, and abundance flow from places you never imagined. For God has channels you know not of, and his ways are sure. Now keep listening, for in the next story, I will take you back to an ancient scene from Scripture where kings were told to prepare for water in a desert valley, when not a cloud was in sight. It will show you that the principle is timeless. When you dare to prepare before the supply appears, the supply cannot fail to come. And once you see this, you will never again hesitate to dig your ditches in faith, knowing they will be filled. End. Subpoint end. You said continue, right, in really long chapters, really long paragraphs and flowing sentences. ChatGPT said title main section 4 case studies of ordering wealth start point subsection 4.2 the three kings and the empty valley. Now I want to take you into one of the most powerful illustrations of divine law ever given. A story hidden in the scriptures that shows beyond doubt that preparation in faith brings supply even when appearances scream impossibility. 3 kings marched with their armies across a barren land, and they came to a valley where no water flowed, no streams ran, no clouds lingered in the sky. Their men were faint with thirst, their horses were stumbling, and the shadow of death hung over them. To the reasoning mind, the case was closed. There was no water. There was no hope. There was no way. But the prophet Elisha was with them. And when they sought his word, he did not say, wait for rain. Nor did he say, go back in defeat. He gave them a strange, bold command: make this valley full of ditches. Imagine that under a blazing sun, in a land parched and empty, they were told to dig ditches to ditches. Prepare channels for water that did not yet exist, to labor in faith for a supply unseen. Many would have laughed, many would have scorned, many would have dismayed, but the kings obeyed. They dug ditch after ditch, channel after channel in that dry earth. And when morning came, without a drop of rain from the sky, the valley was filled with water, flowing in abundance from unseen sources, enough to satisfy the armies, enough to save the horses, enough to carry them to victory. This is not only a tale of history, it is a revelation of law. Your valley may look dry, your needs may appear unmet, your life may feel parched of every resource. But the word of the Lord to you is the same. Make your valley full of ditches. Prepare before you see. Act as if the supply is already rushing toward you. Dig the mental ditches of expectation. Dig the practical ditches of readiness. Set the table before the meal arrives. Buy the blankets before the apartment is found. Step out in faith before the evidence appears. And when you do, the supply will come from channels you did not expect, from places you did not know existed. For God's resources are infinite, and his methods are mysterious. I once told a student of mine to prepare for her good in exactly this way. She was longing for her right home, yet every door seemed closed, every possibility denied. She said, I cannot see how it can happen. And I said, you do not need to see the how. You need to dig the ditch. Buy something for the home you desire. Begin to prepare in faith. She did. She purchased new blankets and kept them folded, ready for the bed in the home she did not yet possess. Friends mocked her, saying she was foolish to spend money on what she could not use. But she smiled and said, I am preparing for my good. And very soon, in a way she could never have orchestrated, the right home was offered to her, and the blankets were spread upon her bed. She dug her ditch and the water filled it. Do you not see how different this is from the spirit of begging? Begging waits for proof before moving. Begging pleads with life, but never acts as if life could answer. Ordering digs ditches. Ordering prepares in confidence. Ordering says, the water is already on its way, I must make room for it. That is faith in action, and faith is always rewarded. So I ask you, what dry valley are you staring at now? Where in your life does it seem impossible that supply could flow? Is it your finances, your health, your relationships, your work? Whatever it is, take up your spiritual shovel and begin to dig. Declare the word, prepare the space, act as if the good were already here. And do not be surprised when the morning comes and the valley is full. For the law has never failed and never will. And as we move into the next story, you will see another demonstration of this principle. For there was a man who faced ruin, a banker who had only minutes to secure the funds he needed. And it seemed that time itself was against him. Yet because he dared to believe, because he dared to hold steady, because he dug his ditch of faith at the very last moment, the supply arrived exactly on time. This case will show you that even when the clock is ticking, even when appearances shout too late, divine law is never late and your order will always be delivered under grace. Now, let me show you how divine law proves itself, even when the clock is running down. When appearances scream that all is lost, when reasons insists that you have come to the end of the road. For there was a man, a banker, who faced a crisis so severe that his very future seemed to hang by a thread. He had given his word, and he needed a loan of 50,000 by a fixed hour, not a minute later, or his entire venture would collapse. His reputation would shatter, and his hope for success would crumble. He had exhausted every visible channel. He had knocked on doors, appealed to friends, sought assistance from colleagues, and each time the answer was the same: no help could be given. The hour was drawing near, and all appearances declared ruin. To the reasoning mind, the case was closed. But this man understood something of the law, and he refused to yield to fear. He spoke his word. He declared, "My supply comes from God, and it arrives on time, under grace, in perfect ways." He studied his mind. He refused to let dread take the throne, and he acted as though the money were already his. And then, just when the last sands of the hourglass were falling, when all seemed beyond recovery, a messenger arrived. Another banker, moved by an impulse he could not explain, stepped forward and placed in this man's hands exactly the loan he needed, a 50,000, not a penny short, not a moment late. The transaction was completed within the final 15 minutes before the deadline. What the reasoning mind had declared impossible, the law delivered with precision, because faith held steady. That is the nature of divine timing. God is never too late, though he is seldom early. He moves in the perfect moment, and the supply arrives in the very instant it is required. Now, I tell you this story not to fill your mind with wonder, but to drive home a truth you must never forget. Appearances of delay do not mean denial. The seeming last moment is often the proving ground of faith. Many give up when the clock is near striking 12, saying, "It is too late. I must surrender to defeat." And in that very instant, when their faith falters, the supply that was racing toward them dissolves into mist. But the one who holds steady, the one who declares, "Even now my good is here. Even now the way is made. Even now God proves himself," that one sees miracles arrive on the wings of the 11th hour. Have you not felt the weight of time pressing upon you? Have you not seen bills marked due and felt the cold hand of fear saying, "It is too late. No help can come"? Now that is the very moment when you must dig your ditch of faith. That is the moment when you must speak with greatest clarity, when you must act as though the supply were already deposited in your account. Do not let your voice falter. Do not let your actions betray you. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. For the law is exact, and when you refuse to collapse into fear, the supply will arrive with the same precision as the banker's loan, time to the minute, sufficient for the need, perfect in every detail. Remember this always. God's methods are ingenious. His resources are unlimited. His timing is flawless. The reasoning mind demands to know the channel, the plan, the schedule. Faith rests in the truth that infinite intelligence has already arranged it, and it will be revealed in the right moment. Your part is to keep the word alive, to refuse to let fear break your poise, to continue preparing as if the good were already in hand. That is ordering without fear. That is why the banker received his loan. That is why you too can receive your supply no matter how late the hour may seem. And now, as we move into the next demonstration, You will see how this law not only works in moments of crisis, but also in the building of prosperity and overflow. How a woman who dared to follow her hunch, who dared to order abundance, instead of begging for survival, he found her little shop bursting with customers, her tables filled, her hands overflowing with supply. Her story will show you that the law is not limited to rescues at the last hour, but operates as a fountain of continual prosperity when you live by faith and follow the divine promptings within. Now I want to share with you one of the most joyous proofs of divine law, because it shows how abundance does not only come in moments of crisis, when the clock is against you, but also how it pours forth as a continual overflow when you dare to follow the quiet voice of intuition and order your good, instead of shrinking back in fear. There was a woman who had read my words, and something in her spirit awoke to the truth that God is her supply and that her word has creative power. She was not wealthy. She did not have great resources, but she had faith and she had a vision. She longed to do a work that brought joy to others, and she felt a persistent inner nudge, a hunch she could not ignore, to open a little tea room and candy shop. To the reasoning mind, it made no sense. She had no great capital. She had no guarantee of customers. She had no reason to believe that her little shop could succeed in a city crowded with competition. But she chose not to beg life for survival. She chose not to plead for crumbs. She chose to order her abundance by stepping into faith and following the voice within. She began to prepare not in fear but in expectancy. She secured a modest space. She filled it with sweetness and care. She prayed over every detail, and above all she spoke the word. This shop overflows with customers. This shop is filled with joy. This shop prospers under grace in perfect ways. Day after day she declared it, and day after day she acted as if it were already true. And what do you think happened? From the very first week, her tea room and candy shop were filled to bursting. Customers came in such numbers that she could scarcely keep up with the demand. Word spread quickly, and soon her little business overflowed with prosperity. She had ordered abundance, and abundance had arrived, more than she could have imagined. Now, here is the lesson for you. She did not wait for all conditions to be perfect before she acted. She did not sit at home begging God for a miracle while refusing to take a step. She spoke the word. She followed her hunch, and she prepared as though success were certain. That is ordering. That is faith in action. Had she begged, she would have sat in paralysis, praying for help, but never opening the door to receive it. But because she ordered, because she dared to move in obedience to the inner prompting, the law rushed to fill her ditches, and her valley overflowed. I tell you this story because some of you have visions stirring in your hearts right now. You feel the whisper to begin a new work, to step into a new field, to create something that blesses others. Yet you hesitate. You say, I do not have the money. I do not have the contacts. I do not have the resources. That is the voice of fear, and if you listen, it will keep you begging all your life. But if you will speak the word, if you will say, God is my supply, this work prospers under grace, and then dare to follow the hunch, doors will open, supply will appear, and abundance will overflow just as surely as it did for that woman and her candy shop. Let me ask you plainly, what is the candy shop of your life? What vision has God whispered to you that you have put aside because appearances told you it was impossible? Perhaps it is a business idea. Perhaps it is a creative project. Perhaps it is a move to a new city. Perhaps it is a work of service. Whatever it is, if the vision is persistent, if the hunch keeps returning, if the thought fills you with both joy and holy fear, it is likely your divine appointment. And your task is not to beg God to make it happen, but to order it into being by your word, your faith, and your action. Do not despise small beginnings. That woman's shop was modest, but it overflowed. Your beginning may be small, but if it is founded on faith, it will prosper. Do not wait for every condition to be perfect. Speak the word now, prepare now, act now, and watch the law fill your shop, your work, your life with customers, opportunities, and blessings beyond what you could plan. And with this story, you can see the pattern. Whether it is the woman with 8, the kings digging ditches, the banker receiving his loan in the last minutes, or the candy shop overflowing with customers, the principle is the same. Begging delays, fear paralyzes, ordering through faith, spoken word, and action brings supply. Always on time, always in the right way, always in perfect measure. Now stay with me, for in the next main section, I will draw all these lessons together into a daily practice you can follow morning and evening, so that ordering your supply becomes as natural to you as ordering your morning coffee. You will see how to begin each day with declarations of abundance, how to move through your hours with the poise of prosperity, and how to end the night by clearing away the false records so that every dawn greets you with fresh supply. If you have followed me this far, you now see clearly that begging has no power, that ordering in faith moves mountains, that imagination is the scissors of the mind, and that the law always substitutes the right good when you ask amiss. You have heard the stories, you have seen the demonstrations, and now you must ask, how do I live this truth each day so that it becomes as natural as breathing, as habitual as eating, as constant as the rising of the sun? The answer is found in practice, steady daily practice. Because just as you would not expect to be nourished for life by a single meal, so you must not expect to be carried by one declaration spoken once in a moment of desperation. No, you must make the spoken word the rhythm of your life, the music that plays in the background of every thought and every act. And this begins in the morning. The way you begin your day sets the tone for everything that follows. If you rise in fear, checking bills, replaying worries, planting seeds of doubt, then your day will unfold in that vibration. But if you rise in power, speaking declarations of abundance, commanding supply as calmly as you order your morning coffee, then the hours ahead will align themselves with that vibration. So here is how you begin. The moment your eyes open, before you touch your phone, before you look at the news, before you let the race thought of the world invade your mind, you declare aloud, God is my instant and endless supply. Large sums of money come to me quickly and easily under grace in perfect ways. My day is filled with opportunity. My path is cleared before me. My good comes to me now. Do not mumble these words as a ritual. Speak them with poise, with calm assurance, with the rhythm of one who knows the order is placed and the supply cannot fail to arrive. Feel the vibration of those words. Let them settle into your chest. Let them ring in your bones. Speak them as a king issuing a decree, as a queen commanding her household, not as a pauper whispering a wish. Then add this: every door that is mine swings open today. Every channel that is mine flows today. No man can shut what God has opened. No fear can block what is mine by divine right. This is a day of miracles and I walk in them with joy. When you speak like this, you are not only preparing your mind, but you are aligning your whole being with the unseen forces that move events. You are cutting the pattern of the day with the scissors of imagination, and the tailor of the subconscious will stitch it together faithfully. I once told a student of mine to begin every morning with such declarations, for she was in constant fear of debt. Her habit was to wake up, reach for her bills, and sigh. Another day, another burden. And so, day after day, she lived the very picture she cut. When she changed, when she rose each morning and declared, I am linked with the golden stream of supply. I am free from debt. All my bills are paid in full. I walk in abundance today. Her life turned within weeks, unexpected money arrived, old debts were canceled, and the load lifted from her shoulders. The morning practice set the tone, and the day delivered the supply. So I say to you, do not treat your morning as common. Guard it, sanctify it, make it a holy appointment with abundance. Before the world rushes in, speak your word, place your order, command your day, and then walk out your door knowing that everything has already been arranged. That supply is on its way. That opportunities are flowing toward you. That divine intelligence has already gone ahead to prepare your path. And here is a mystery you will discover. As you practice this daily, your subconscious will begin to expect abundance as naturally as it expects the sunrise. Fear will lose its grip. Doubt will fade. You will find yourself moving through the hours with a calm certainty, a quiet power, a joy that does not depend on appearances. And as you hold steady in this practice, your life will reflect it more and more until ordering abundance, each morning becomes as simple and natural as breathing in and out. Now, keep listening because in the next part, I will show you how to carry this vibration throughout your day, how to act the part of prosperity in every situation, even when appearances tempt you to shrink back into fear. You will learn how to embody abundance in your behavior, your choices, and your very posture, so that your actions confirm your words, and your words take flesh in your affairs. It is not enough, my friend, to rise in the morning and declare you're good, if the rest of the day you act as though your words have no power. If you slump into fear the moment an unpaid bill crosses your desk, if you shrink back into hesitation when opportunity knocks, if you clutch every coin as though it were your last. Words plant the seed but actions water it. To speak abundance and then to act poverty is to cancel your own decree to uproot the very crop you have sown. This is why I tell you that you must not only speak prosperity, you must act prosperity. You must walk prosperity. You must carry yourself as one who is already supplied, already cared for, already rich in every way. To beg is to tremble. To order is to stand upright, calm, and sure. And your actions must mirror your order. I recall the case of a woman who came to me terrified, pressed down by debt, convinced she had no way out. I told her, speak the word. Declare that God is your supply, and then act as though it is already true. That very afternoon, though her purse was light, she chose to order a fine luncheon instead of shrinking back into fear. Some would call it foolishness. Some would say it was wasteful. But I tell you, it was faith in action. She ate that meal with joy, not with guilt, and she gave thanks as though her account were already full. Within days, her demonstration came. A large sum of money arrived from an unexpected channel, more than enough to cover her debts and to lift her into freedom. Her act of prosperity had aligned her vibration with her word, and the law could not fail to answer. Another student of mine longed for a home, but found every door closed. Apartments were scarce, and the reasoning mind told her it was useless to try. But she listened to my counsel, and she chose to act prosperity instead of acting poverty. She bought blankets for the bed she did not yet have, as though the home were already hers. Her friends laughed at her and said, "Why spend on what you cannot use?" But she held steady, saying, "I am preparing for my good." And soon, in perfect timing, the right apartment opened to her, and the blankets she had bought were laid upon her bed. The blankets were her act of faith, her way of showing the subconscious that she truly believed her word. And because she believed enough to act, the supply arrived. Do you see the principle? Faith must be expressed not only in words but in deeds. You must carry yourself as though your order is already filled. When you walk into a store, do not mutter, "I can't afford it," for that is acting poverty. Instead, walk in with the poise of one who knows that if this item is yours by divine right, it will be given you. And if not, its equivalent will appear. When you meet new people, do not speak of lack or limitation. Do not list your troubles as if they were badges of honor. Speak as one who is already victorious, already supplied, already backed by the riches of heaven. When you give, do not give with a trembling hand, fearing you will have nothing left. Give with joy, knowing that as money goes out, money returns multiplied, for circulation is the law of supply. Ask yourself now, how are you acting in your daily life? Are you walking as a king or as a beggar? Are you moving with poise or with fear? Are you carrying yourself as though the universe has forgotten you or as though heaven's storehouses are already pouring into your lap? Remember, your subconscious is watching, recording. It does not only take your words, it takes your actions as proof of your belief. If you act lack, it records lack. If you act prosperity, it records prosperity. And the law must bring back what is recorded. So today, begin to act prosperity in the small ways. Order a meal with joy instead of anxiety. Buy a token for the home you desire. Step into opportunities with confidence instead of hesitation. Give generously when intuition prompts you. Dress with dignity, not with fear. Walk with your head high, not with your shoulders bowed. These small acts are signals, messages to your subconscious that you are prosperous now, that you believe your order is filled, and the law, faithful as ever, will confirm your belief without demonstration. Now hold on, because in the next part, I will show you how to end your day as powerfully as you begin it. You will learn how to clear away the false impressions that try to creep in during the hours, how to sweep the dust of fear from your subconscious before you sleep, and how to plant the seeds of gratitude so that your night becomes a field where abundance grows while you rest. When you master this evening practice, your days and nights will join in harmony, and you will live in a continual rhythm of ordering and deny receiving your supply. As surely as the morning sets the tone for your day, the evening closes it. And I want you to understand the importance of how you end your day, because whatever vibration you carry into sleep is the vibration your subconscious mind works upon through the night. If you drift off rehearsing your troubles, worrying over bills, recalling every slight and every fear, then your subconscious will take those pictures and enlarge them, planting them deeper, weaving them into the very fabric of your affairs. But if you end your day in gratitude, in faith, in deliberate clearing of false records, then your subconscious becomes a fertile garden where seeds of abundance sprout while you rest. Night can be your ally or your enemy, depending on what you hand to your inner self before you close your eyes. That is why I tell you, do not fall asleep begging. Do not fall asleep fretting. Do not fall asleep playing the old records of fear. End your day with thanksgiving and command, and the night will labor on your behalf. Here is how you do it. As the evening falls and you prepare for sleep, speak first the words of gratitude. I give thanks for this day. I give thanks for every blessing seen and unseen. I give thanks that my supply is secure, that my path is clear, that my good is unfolding now. Do not rush these words. Feel them. Even if the day seemed full of small frustrations, search out the blessings and give thanks. Perhaps you received a kind word. Perhaps a bill was delayed. Perhaps a door opened even a crack. Whatever it is, magnify it with gratitude. Gratitude multiplies. It takes the little and makes it much. It lifts your vision from lack to plenty, and it tunes your subconscious to receive more. Remember, Christ did not multiply the loaves and fishes until he first gave thanks. And so must you. Then after thanksgiving, move to the work of clearing. Declare, I smash and demolish every untrue record played in my subconscious today. Every false word, every idle fear, every picture of lack dissolves now into the dust of nothingness. I record only truth. I record only abundance. I record only health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. Speak it with force as if striking a hammer upon the old disc. Picture those grooves breaking apart, crumbling, turning to dust. Then see a new record placed upon the turntable of your mind, gleaming, flawless, and hear the melody of plenty. The symphony of joy, the song of prosperity. Your subconscious will obey. It will erase the old vibrations and play the new tune throughout the night, drawing to you channels, ideas, opportunities, supply. Finally, close with a decree of peace. I rest now in divine order. I rest now in perfect safety. I rest now knowing that everything I need is rushing toward me under grace in perfect ways. Let these words carry you into sleep, so that even in your dreams, you are surrounded by the atmosphere of abundance. Sleep is not idleness. It is the workshop of the subconscious, and when you fall asleep in gratitude and faith, your inner workshop labors joyfully, cutting patterns of good, stitching garments of plenty, arranging conditions so that when you wake, the outer world begins to reflect the inner work. I once counseled a man tormented by fear. He would go to bed each night rehearsing his failures, muttering, "Nothing ever works for me. I will never succeed." And every morning he woke heavy, defeated, burdened, and the same failures repeated themselves. When I taught him to reverse his practice, to speak gratitude, and record clearing at night, his life changed. Within weeks, opportunities opened, fear lifted, and his mornings felt light and full of hope. The night had been turned from an enemy into an ally because he handed it the right material to work with. So I ask you now, how will you end this day? Will you let fear sing you to sleep? Will you let resentment write its groove deeper into your mind? Or will you take the few sacred minutes to give thanks, to smash the false records, to decree peace and abundance? The choice is yours, and the results are certain. What you hand to your subconscious at night It will magnify and return to you in the morning. Choose well, and your nights will become the secret engine of your prosperity. And now, as we come to the close of this teaching, I will draw all the threads together. You will see the pattern that runs through every story, every law, every case I have given you. And I will leave you with a final affirmation, a command so clear and strong that if you speak it daily, your days will turn, your nights will change, and your life will flow with abundance as naturally as breath. Stay with me, for the closing will seal this word in your heart and set you walking in power. Now we have walked together through the full arc of truth, from the moment where you first saw the futility of begging to the moment where you learned to order your supply as calmly as you order your morning coffee, to the demonstrations that prove the law cannot fail, to the daily practices that make abundance as natural and steady as sunrise. And I want you to hear me with your whole heart. You are no longer at the mercy of appearances. You are no longer a slave to fear. You are no longer bound by the grooves of old records or trapped in the shadows of past mistakes. You have been given the key, the spoken word charged with faith, the imagination disciplined to picture only good, the actions that align with your decree, the gratitude that multiplies, the clearing that dissolves the false. With these tools, you are free to shape your life, free to call forth supply, free to command joy, free to live in the rhythm of divine order. Let me gather the threads into one strong cord. Begging is fear. Ordering is faith. Fear is faith turned upside down, faith in evil, faith in loss. But true faith is spoken in command, not in pleading. When you book order, you align with the inexhaustible storehouses of God, and the cashier of the universe delivers swiftly under grace in perfect ways. Your imagination is the scissors of your mind. It cuts the patterns life must follow. So cut boldly, cut beautifully, cut only robes of splendor, never rags of fear. If you have already cut wrongly, smash the old record. Speak the word of demolition and establish a new melody of truth. And do not forget the law of substitution, that merciful safeguard that ensures you can never lose your true good. If you ask amiss, the wrong will fall away, and the right will arrive in its place. For infinite intelligence knows better than your limited sight. And now what remains is daily practice. For truth must not be visited as a guest but lived as a companion. Each morning rise with declarations of abundance. Speak as a king or queen commanding your supply. Each day act as though your order is already filled. Give generously. Walk with poise. Dress with dignity. Take the opportunities that come. Each night close with gratitude and record clearing. Thank God for your good. Smash the false impressions and hand your subconscious the melodies of plenty to play while you sleep. Do this, and you will live in a rhythm of continual ordering and continual receiving as steady as the tide, as sure as the turning of the seasons. So I leave you with this affirmation, and I want you to speak it aloud until it reverberates in every cell of your being. I no longer beg. I command my supply by divine right. I no longer fear. I walk in faith. I no longer doubt. I give thanks, and my good rushes to me swiftly under grace in perfect ways. Large sums of money come to me quickly and easily. My imagination cuts only patterns of plenty. My old records of lack are smashed forever. I am free. I am prosperous. I am blessed beyond measure. Speak it now, and let the words become flesh in your life. And if you are ready to take the next step, if you are ready to discover the hidden words that sabotage your prosperity, the phrases people speak every day without knowing they are cursing themselves with lack, then I invite you to continue with me into my next teaching. There I will uncover the secret enemies of your wealth, the careless words that block supply, and I will give you the antidote, the higher words that turn curses into blessings. Do not miss it, for once you hear it, you will never again give power to the wrong word, and your tongue will become a continual fountain of prosperity. Click now and step through into the next revelation. Now, let me seal this word upon your spirit. For truth must be spoken again and again until it settles into the very marrow of your being, until it ceases to sound like new instruction and begins to ring like your own voice, the eternal voice of the Christ within. You are no longer a beggar in a universe of lack. You are no longer one who crawls at the back door pleading for crumbs. You are a child of the Most High, heir to the storehouses of heaven, clothed in divine authority, entrusted with the power of the spoken word. And every time you open your mouth in faith, every time you declare with conviction, every time you choose to cut a pattern of plenty with your imagination, you are exercising that authority, and the law cannot fail to answer you. The supply is not sometimes here and sometimes gone. The supply is as steady as God Himself, eternal, inexhaustible, waiting always for your command. So do not look back to the days when you begged and doubted, when you trembled before bills, when you feared the future as though it were an enemy. Those days are gone, and the records that held them are smashed. From this moment, walk forward with a new song upon your lips, a song of abundance, a song of gratitude, a song of victory. Speak only words that crown you. Speak only words that exalt your supply. Speak only words that draw to you the riches, the love, the health, the joy that are already yours in the divine design. For as surely as every idle word once condemned you, every deliberate word now justifies you, and your future is bright with the harvest of your decrees. And let me remind you of this mystery: the law never slumbers. The subconscious never rests. Even now, as you listen, as you breathe, as you think, the grooves are being cut, the patterns are being shaped, the garments are being stitched. You are creating at every moment, and there is no pause in the process. That is why you must be vigilant. That is why you must guard your tongue and imagination as a watchman guards a city gate. Let no false words slip past. Let no picture of lack take root. Be ruthless with fear, for fear is inverted faith. Cast it out. Replace it instantly with gratitude, with decree, with the picture of plenty. And as you do, you will find your life changing in ways that astonish you. What once felt like struggle will begin to feel like flow. What once felt like waiting will begin to feel like ease. What once felt like impossibility will dissolve into demonstration. Swift, certain, perfect. I want you to walk away from this teaching with the unshakable conviction that your word is law, that your imagination is creative, that your faith is substance. I want you to live each morning as though the cashier of the universe is standing ready to receive your order. Each day, as though you are clothed in the robes of prosperity. Each evening, as though angels themselves are sweeping away the dust of false impressions and leaving your subconscious polished and ready to receive new commands. And I want you to remember above all that you are not alone in this. Infinite intelligence is your partner. Divine love is your supply. The Christ within is your authority, and the law of abundance is your unfailing servant. So let us close together with a final decree spoken with rhythm and power, a decree that will echo through your consciousness long after this message ends. I am prosperous now. I am supplied now. I am free now. I no longer beg. I only order. And my orders are filled at once under grace in perfect ways. The old records are gone. The false pictures are dissolved. My word builds my world. And my world is abundance, beauty, joy, and peace. I walk in my promised land now. Speak it aloud, feel it vibrate through you, and know that as you have spoken, so it is established. And as you carry this truth forward, let your curiosity draw you onward, for there is more to uncover. You have learned to order supply, but now you must learn to guard against the hidden words that steal it, the subtle phrases that curse your prosperity without your knowing. In my next message, I will reveal these enemies of abundance and give you the higher decrees that reverse them instantly. You must hear this, for until you know the traps, you may stumble into them without realizing. But once you know, you will be free forever. So take this word with you and then step forward into the next teaching where your tongue will be cleansed, your speech will be crowned, and your prosperity will flow without hindrance.